When people think about Pep Guardiola and Manchester City, they see a free-flowing football side. The football City play, and in fact, all Pep Guardiola's teams have always seemed to play, is incredible, it's exhilarating, and it's successful on the pitch. So much so that Manchester City have won 3 Premier League titles in a row. But where did all this begin? And is it just a matter of the finances Pep Guardiola has at his disposal? Pep has both young players and those that have the experience to win a Premier League title. But if you look at the team Pep inherited just 7 years ago, only Kevin De Bruyne remains. Although Pep has had finances to improve his squad, if you look at some of the key players he has lost, all of these key players left in just a couple of years. The squad Pep took over also had a lot of aging players, and despite their quality and amazing achievements at the club, the likes of Gaël Clichy, Bakary Sagna, Alexander Kolarov also had to leave quite soon. The recruitment at Manchester City is also incredible. If we look at the sheer masses of money the likes of Manchester United and Chelsea have spent in recent years and have sustained over a long period of time, they have had nowhere near the successes of Manchester City.
And that's because spending big doesn't necessarily equal success. If winning trophies was as simple as outspend your opponent, then a club like Man United, who spent more than anyone in Europe over the past 10 years, would have more to show for its mass spending than just a Europa League, an FA Cup and 2 League Cups. It's easy to spend money, less so to spend money well. Just look at Chelsea this season, their most expensive transfer window in history, but their worst ever Premier League season. Recruitment is one of the hardest things in football. Di Maria goes to Man United for a British record of 60 million. Must have been a great signing, right? No, he had one disappointing season in England before signing for PSG. Lukaku goes to Chelsea for around 100 million. Must have been the solution to their striker problems because he costs so much. That's how it works, surely. Well, that signing worked out so well he went straight back to Inter a year later. And let's also bust this myth that, unlike Pep, Fergie never really had any money to spend, so his achievements are way more impressive. Fergie literally broke the British transfer record 5 times. Pep's broken it once. One of the most impressive things about Pep's tenure at City has been City's ability to spend wisely. I could count the number of disappointments on one hand. Signing the right players is in itself an art.
Pep Guardiola's first major signing at Manchester City was an injured for 9 months Ilkay Gundogan. Pep saw the potential in this incredible player who now captains this Manchester City team. Pep Guardiola and the team of people that introduce new players into Manchester City invest in the future. They don't look at tomorrow, they look at next year, the year after, the year after. We look at Julian Alvarez, a £14 million player who has now won the World Cup and a Premier League title. Erling Haaland joined Manchester City for a fee of €60 million. This was his release clause, and of course agent fees and high wages have been given to Erling Haaland, but it just shows the footballing institution that Manchester City are and the players they can bring in. City's transfer policy as well is incredible. The likes of Bernardo Silva have looked to leave the club in recent years, and City allow these players to do so if the correct fee is brought in. This fee might not have arrived for the likes of Bernardo Silva, but for example Gabriel Jesus, Alexander Zinchenko and Raheem Sterling all left last summer for incredibly high fees. These players are clearly satisfied with what they did at City and are happy to move on. It shows for other players looking to join Manchester City. City will allow them to leave. They will not trap players, and that just shows how good City are with players. If we compare this to Tottenham Hotspur, Harry Kane has wanted to leave Spurs on multiple occasions and they refuse to let him go. That is not a good thing for Tottenham and their future recruitment. Pep Guardiola's first signings in Ilkay Gundogan already mentioned and John Stones still remain in the team today, showing how good they are and how well Manchester City use their resources. In Pep Guardiola's second season, we saw Manchester City hit 100 points, the record for any team in Premier League history. Before this season, we saw Manchester City introduce Ederson, an incredible goalkeeper that completely fits Pep Guardiola's philosophy. Kyle Walker is an incredible right back. His sheer pace and ability to defend keeps him in the team today. Bernardo Silva was also signed in this window, and what a player he is. In this season, Aymeric Laporte was also signed in the January transfer window, and yet another Pep Guardiola signing was proven to be an incredible one. What a player. Despite successes of this season and high revenues, City introduced just one key player in the following window, and that was Riyad Mahrez, another incredible signing from Pep Guardiola. The 2018-19 season saw City win a very impressive domestic treble. This, though, was the end of Vincent Kompany, the captain, the leader, the legend's time at Manchester City, and it's a huge gap to fill, especially with Yaya Toure leaving the season prior. City do do not just spend money, we also sell players, and a highly successful academy turns in a lot of profit. Many football fans do not see the behind-the-scenes flows of finances that Manchester City bring in. Being so successful on the pitch, the commercial revenue and the TV rights, the prize money are so high, and that is what allows Manchester City to spend so much money. If we bounce on to the next season, one affected heavily by COVID-19, Liverpool were the champions of England on this occasion, and City introduced Rodri, an incredible player, for €60 million, which seems a very cheap price, looking back at how good this player is now. Again, Rodri was not incredible in his first season, but the performances we get of this man now shows how much of an investment he was. Joao Cancelo was a very good player for City during the years he actually played for us. After a slightly disappointing season, not winning the Premier League on this occasion, Manchester City introduced Nathan Ake from Bournemouth, Ruben Diaz from Benfica, and this was after a long stint of chasing Koulibaly from Napoli. But City will walk away. If something is not right, City will not go there. Of course, City won the Premier League this season. 2020-2021, City were the champions above Manchester United. This was also a season Pep Guardiola managed his resources incredibly. David Silva had left Manchester City the summer before, and Phil Foden, a young prospect, a young talent, came into the starting 11 a lot more. Sergio Aguero's best years at City had also passed, and this turned out to be his final season. This saw City play often without a recognised striker, and had Foden at a false nine position on many occasions. The departure of Sergio Aguero and the lack of an out-and-out striker at City was now an issue. Harry Kane of Tottenham Hotspur seemed the perfect player. Daniel Levy of Tottenham Hotspur refused to let him go to City at any price, so City didn't go out into the market and waste their money. We waited it out. Jack Grealish was signed for Manchester City, and we went into the following season as champions, trying to repeat our previous successes. When we highlight some of the key players from this season, investments from the past were so crucial. But of course, as already mentioned, there were several outgoings from City, generating a lot of finances. The funds freed up more than paid for Erling Haaland, one of the best young talents this planet has ever seen. Calvin Phillips was also introduced from Leeds, and this guy hasn't quite had the season he'd have been looking for, but again, he's an investment for the future. Into this season, there was something strange cooking behind the scenes at what seemed to be a very harmonious club. Pep Guardiola again had to manage his resources. Rico Lewis, a 17-year-old fullback, was introduced to play this inverted fullback role, and straight from the City Academy, this guy is incredible. In the January transfer window, we also saw the quite strange departure of Joao Cancelo to Bayern Munich on loan. The level of football City played from this point seemingly was remarkable. We also saw John Stones, for example, move into a new midfield role. Pep Guardiola's tactics again came into play, and he managed the resources he had to win another title. Many argue that City have a massive squad that can always compete regardless of who was in charge, but City actually used the fewest players of any Premier League team all year. I truly believe Pep Guardiola is the best manager of all time. What he has done with the resources at Manchester City is incredible. He's had a lot of money to spend, but nowhere near what Manchester United have spent, and they are nowhere near as successful. The same applies for Chelsea of late. I do hope you have enjoyed watching this video. Hopefully it gave you some insight into how Pep Guardiola has managed to turn Manchester City into a winning machine. 3 Premier League titles in a row is incredible, and hopefully for me and other City fans, the success continues.